All right, so here are the ornaments close up. As you can see, they're very bright and colorful, and they are just on a really thick watercolor paper. And the nice thing is at the end of the season, I can stack them up and put them in an envelope or whatever and pack them away safely. So they don't take up a lot of room. And the concepts that I'll be using today, I mean, really, these could be anything. They could be a tag for a gift. They could be little charms that you could hang on a banner. You could really do this in so many ways. You can make mobile with these items, but I'm going to keep it very holiday themed because that's what we're here to do. And I'm going to be doing variations on these. So I did these with watercolors, and I kind of fly by the seat of my pants when I do this kind of stuff. I don't really plan out too much. I do have my watercolors, and we might go that way. But watercolors have some drying time, and I do like to doodle on my watercolors. I did get a whole bunch of stuff made ahead of time. I always have piles like this at the ready. And the great thing is, I'm going to be using my stencils today, but you can do this with anything. Obviously, you can use whatever you have on hand, stamps, stencils. But one thing I like to do with my stencils, since I'm a stencil designer, is say, okay, I have these stencils here. Recently it was Halloween, so I thought, okay, how can I make this design look Halloween? And the versatility for me with the stencils is huge. You can really change the colors around and do different marks and doodles, and all of a sudden it looks very Christmassy. Like the swan, I made it with wet red hues, and I just added some little doodles, and this is a beautiful Christmassy swan now. Same thing with this crane. I just added some doodles. I think I have that stencil right here. So the crane, I just did some watercolors in green, and then I added some red and white doodles, and you know, these all of a sudden look very Christmassy. And I feel like birds are very Christmassy, but my point is anything can be anything if you just add the right colors and you keep a color story going. So I grabbed some of my stencils that I thought I would use. I grabbed some of my newer ones because I thought they might be fun. And we're really just gonna play. I'm gonna put these aside. I might use these later if I decide that these need some drying time. So, I do tend to use watercolors most of the time, but I also brought over some acrylic. So I'll start with some acrylic. We'll just mix it up, and we'll do some acrylic, some watercolor, you know, to each his own. And I'm just going to use a mini blending tool, and you don't even have to use the same thing. A lot of people use, you know, like the cosmetic sponges with stencils. And I'm just applying the acrylic paint on here first, just because it dries the fastest. So I can come back and work on those. Now, sometimes, especially with the profiles, in the faces, maybe I had too much paint on my sponge. It didn't come out perfectly. So I have a little trick that I do is I just pull the stencil out a little bit further and I redo it, right? And then I get a much cleaner line, so it looks a lot better. And I might as well go through and just do one full acrylic stencil, and I'm making sure to just leaving, you know, I'm trying to leave some room around the shapes. I'm not putting them right up against each other, so that way when I go to cut them out, I will have some space to do that, because I'll probably leave some sort of white border. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because we're probably going to go back in and doodle. Okay, so I'm going to put the acrylic stuff aside to dry. And I've been obsessed with moon people, and I just think these will make a beautiful little ornament. Stars and moons are very wintry to me for some reason, so I'm gonna do that too. Now, because I'm working kind of quickly, I'm trying to make sure that my stencil doesn't move, but usually it doesn't come out as nice on the video. Okay, so I've got one of those, and I'm gonna do, oops, another one. And I'm just using red for simplicity. I actually am kind of monochromatic with my Christmas trees. My family Christmas tree is pretty much just red and white, because it is mostly mushrooms. So this one didn't come out, so let me just try it once more. It's all about making sure that the stencil doesn't jiggle, which in some ways is another reason why I like working with watercolors, because when you're rubbing with the sponges, the stencil can jiggle, but when you use the watercolors, that doesn't happen as much. So, okay, that came out better. So we'll put those aside. And let's do some watercolors too. Can't hurt. And my trusty Renaissance watercolors here. And we do it this way so I can get my, and I'm just going to, I'm not going to get it like super wet. And the first impression usually comes out the best. If I want to keep using this stencil over and over and not get blurry designs, then what I need to do between each, it's not really an impression, but between each stenciling is I need to completely dry off the stencil, especially the underside, because if the underside has any kind of moisture here along any of these edges, it's going to pull the moisture from the top half underneath, and that's where you get some of the kind of seepage. Sometimes it's fun to remove some of the watercolor too. So I'm going to do that a little, just for adding a different sense of depth on that bird. And then this one, I'm going to do a peacock. He came out much brighter. And because I'm not like a super awesome watercolor artist per se, I like to do things that make it look a little bit fancier. And again, like, you know, just blotting things a little bit and adding bold bits of color kind of give the idea that I know what I'm doing a little bit more. because when you pull it away, it just looks really cool. It gives it a cool effect. And then it could be fun. Let's see. I'll do one big one too. All right. And again, I'm deciding to keep this very monochromatic, but you don't have to do that at all. So I'm just going to spread these colors on here. And again, I'm not going to worry too much like how perfect it looks. It doesn't matter. It's mixed media. And I'm just going to let them dry. And then it's really with the doodles and the mark making and that sort that gets it where you want it to be in terms of looking like a festive ornament. So I'm going to put that aside. And then I'm going to come back to our acrylic ornaments that we started, and they're probably pretty dry. So I'm going to put my watercolors away so we have some space here. And I have a whole thing of just pens and things to doodle with, because that's a big part of how I work. And I'm just going to loosely cut these out first, just like that. These are very simple ornaments. So, you know, I like to work very, very simply. This is a great project to do with kids because, you know, it will have, a child is going to have a much easier time on working with these. So I'm going to leave them like this as I doodle. And one thing I love to do is add journaling and writing to my art. So I'm just going to add some wonky lines here on her face and neck. And I'm going to do the same thing on this person. It doesn't have to be perfect. I make them wonky on purpose. Plus then I don't have to be perfect. Oops. And I might add a couple of doodles and designs to these. And I do this a lot in my artwork. You'll see these silhouettes with doodles all the time. It's kind of how I designed these stencils. I knew I wanted to have writing on silhouettes, so once I get it figured out, then I kind of do it all the time, because that's the whole point of designing my stencils. I get to use them the way I want to use them. So I'm just adding some doodles in here. And already that looks pretty cool. So I can go in now and just add some words. Because I am talking to you, I'm not going to be able to write like a cool poem or anything. But I am going to be able to write some single words. That won't take too much brain power. And I like to switch the writing on these. Let's do evergreen. I'm trying to think of words that are meaningful for the season. Snow. Let's hope we get some snow here on the East Coast. We didn't last year, at least not in New Jersey. And my kids were so sad. Mary, joy, love, evergreen. can't forget peace, the most important one of all, right? Peace. Might as well, peace on earth. And I'm not worried too much about my writing. I'm just trying to get, you know, any kind of cool words that remind me of the season on here. Okay. Oops. I'm not really good at all the scripty things. Maybe you are. So I'm just doing ones that I can do pretty easily. Now, this is going to be my ornament. So now I'm going to cut it out. Okay, and we like to call this fussy cutting, which I'm sure you all know about. So I'm going to leave a bit of a border on my stencil. So I'm not going to worry too much about making it perfect or anything like that. I'm just going to loosely go around the design. And the border kind of makes it look, I always say, it makes it look a little bit more intentional, right? And I have been putting glitter on everything. So to me, the glitter is really what makes it look sparkly and magical. So I'm just putting little glitter dots on here. And you can do this a myriad of ways, like whichever way you like to apply glitter. It's up to you. And then of course, we'll let that dry. And I probably shouldn't do this with wet glitter on, but I am on a bit of a time frame here. And I'm just gonna punch a little hole and really, really try not to get glitter glue all over me. I am using the Ranger stickles, and I really like them because they have the little nozzle at the top that allows you to use it like you're, you know, you could use it in a very decorative way, like writing. So that's how I have it. And I have found that you want to have at least like 2.5 or 3 inches of space so you can get your ornament on. But look how pretty that looks. And honestly, you could punch some holes here, like 1, 2, 3, and do the same thing here and do smaller dangles. And, you know, add some fringe on there. I'm going to keep these very simple. So that's one style. I feel like I should do different styles so people can get different ideas. So one way to get fast results with acrylic is, if you want to fill it in, you can fill it in with watercolor. So I could do a lighter red, just keep it simple, which I think I might do. So I'm just, because it's watercolor paper, I'm just going to add the red in. And it's kind of cool. The acrylic almost adds a bit of a resist, so you can get some cool effects. Okay, so I love that. And then I'm gonna leave the face white for now, because I'm gonna add some details that are struggling to come out here. I really don't want it that bright, but there we go. I'm gonna add some cheeks with a square brush. I don't recommend that, but I'm too lazy to go and get my other brushes. Oh, well, they're right here. brand new, so I gotta break it in. Okay. See if I can make his cheek a little better. Not really, but that's okay. Maybe I want to give this person some eyebrows. Like that. So I'm just going to let this dry. And again, we'll come back and we can doodle on that. And then these watercolor birds are done too. So I really love these swans. They're so fun. And so again, like, you don't have to add a ton of details and make it like super realistic. Just doing that alone is fine. I already have, okay. So already I'm thinking that this swan, that's horrible, but okay. This one clearly needs a little crown. So I'm going to make a little tiny crown. I think that's going to look great when we cut it out. So for this one, I am just going to add some more simple designs here, and I'll mix it up. I do have a bunch of doodles that I tend to stick to, just because I love them so much. So as I doodle, I tend to doodle with either Posca pens or this is a Uniball Signum. And you can actually buy these in bulk on Amazon, but they have them in a lot of stationery stores too. And they work really well. It's not working great right now because I'm trying to go over a watercolor that isn't 100% dry, because again, in theory, this is live. I mean, it isn't, but you know what I mean. So I'm gonna add these little details. I'm not gonna get too crazy because I want to play around with the crown. I think that'll be so cute. And very Christmassy. Swans to me are very Christmassy. They remind me of the 12 Days of Christmas and the Nutcracker. I don't even think there are any swans in the Nutcracker, but I don't know. And also I think because my grandmother had pretty sure she had swan ornaments on her tree. Okay. Uh-oh. I lost her crown. Okay, so I'm just going to put some glue. Oops. Ugh, doing this on camera is always so much harder. I think right there is good. And then, let's see. I'm just gonna, it's the wrong color. All right. So I'm going to reincorporate the red. It's not cooperating because the glue is not dry and it's moving. But that's okay. And it could be fun to add some glitter in here. Normally, you're going to have the best results when everything is dried and you're not working under a time limit. But there we go. That looks so cute. And I like to add the glitter in a couple different places because it kind of pulls it together. So I'm going to put the whole kind of more here in the middle. And that is really all it takes is to make these watercolor ornaments. And I got to tell you, I think after I turn this camera off, I'm going to be playing with these all day. Oh my gosh, don't get in the glue because they're so fun. It's addicting. You can just get out your stencils. You can get out your watercolor paper, and I don't even use anything fancy. I get all my watercolor paper from Five Below. It's just a dollar store. And look how cute and Christmassy that looks. So, you know, you can just keep playing with this kind of stuff. You don't need a ton to make it look impactful. You can keep it fairly monochromatic like I did. Think of a color theme and just have fun, like stenciling and doodling. And that's it. It's so easy. And this is a great holiday craft to do with your kids. In fact, I think that my little guys are going to want to do this when they get home. They'll usually see what I've been working on and they say, I want to do that, Mama. And so I say, sit down, let's get started. So I hope you enjoyed this little lesson, and I hope you enjoy the holidays however you celebrate. Remember, this is something you can do with any kind of theme. It doesn't have to be Christmas. It could be birthday. It could be just joyful. It could be New Year's. It doesn't matter, but they make just the nicest little ornaments. And then if you want to add a little extra something, don't forget to recycle all your fruit and you know, garlic and avocados, all the like baskets for the bags rather that come. This stuff, especially so much of it is red, it always looks really kind of artsy if you add it to the bottom of any of these like that. And I just staple it on. I'm lazy. That's what I did with these. I just thought she needed a shift of some sort, so I stapled something on. So just another idea. You can break out your ribbons and bows and put them at the bottoms, however you want to play. But I am sure that this is a craft that will be easy to do with some music on and a nice warm beverage. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching.